Alright, this is going to be a quick and dirty explanation of how to replace an alternator in a Chevy van G30 from 1986. It is also a Lazy Daze RV. I don't know how much of that matters as it relates to just the G30 alternator replacement. So, I noticed that I was not getting any charge on the battery. So, I tested all the things, inline fuses, which they do exist, but have since, over the last 40 years of this thing, been cut out and just wire nutted, and that's fine, whatever. So here is your alternator right there, perfect. It doesn't have a belt tensioner, nothing like that, which I could only find G20 installs on here, and they all have belt tensioners. A lot of help those videos were, hence this video. You're going to need a 9/16 something, wrench, socket, whatever, and a 13 millimeter. The 13 millimeter is for the tension of the alternator, which is right there, mount. And the 9/16 is for the bolt near the bottom. There's only 2 bolts. It's kind of hard to tell. That's the way it goes. There it is. Boom. Is that it? Yes. Let me get it in there a little bit more. There we go. Hopefully you can see it. So there's 2 bolts. You loosen the one on the bottom with the 9/16, and then you remove the one on the top. When you remove the top one, it will slide down. It is the tensioner, so realize that. Once you've loosened the 13 millimeter bolt here, you can slip the belt off, take the bolts all the way out, shift the alternator, and then disconnect this 2-wire assembly here, this 2-wire, and then once that's off, you'll be able to flip it around and access the bolt on the back. I think it's a 10 millimeter, and that connects the actual battery cable. So once you get that alternator out, which it is tough, I had to remove the bolt for the oil and goodness, like position the oil dipstick a little bit. It is a tight squeeze, but you do not have to take off the shroud, which would be a nightmare. You can just finagle it, squiggle it, get it out of there. Once it's out, installation is the opposite of removal, 9/16, 13, except you can see that hole, this guy right here? That is where you'll put something to pry up, so that the alternator is able to tension. So you put the belt back on, you put a piece of metal or something in there. Honestly, I just used this. Just something metal, rigid, won't damage the alternator. And then you move it until the bolt gets to right here. It lined up really well with this hole. Tightening that, otherwise you will get a hell of a screech. Once you've hooked all that stuff up and you've connected all the wires, there's 3 wires on that, you're gonna come over here after starting and test the voltage. If it's not at least 13 volts, then you did something wrong. Or the alternator came broken, or 1,000 other things. Just to give you, the alternator install video portion is done. On these G30s, there is a circuit that's running. For me, I have a battery isolator, so it'll be a little bit different than you, because I have coach batteries and engine batteries. So the battery isolator, which is right here, you run your alternator wire to it, and then it distributes power to the engine battery and to the coach battery separately, but it isolates it so that you don't end up with a dead engine while you're so if you're running the coach's lights and whatnot, those coach lights will not pull from the engine battery. So it goes engine battery, I believe, to ignition switch, to starter solenoid, to alternator, to, if you have the isolator, which you probably don't, and then it would go back to battery. So that's complicated, but I just wanted to give you a little rundown of exactly how that is ran. And then, yeah, that's it. Quick and dirty. There just isn't any other videos out there, so I figured I would contribute. good luck with your G30. And I'm also going to be doing more Lazy Daze RV videos, just because I've had to do a lot of maintenance, you know, replacing this, ensuring that, you know, you have enough 12 volts to run your heater or your fridge. Even on propane, it still needs 12 volts to run. Also put 800 watts of solar up on the roof. So I'm gonna get into that and my hybrid inverter battery setup with my lithium batteries. This guy can run AC for about 3.5 to 4 hours straight, and then that's if it's a shady day. So look forward to those videos, but this one is alternator and electrical system on a G30 Chevy from 1986. Thank you so much. This is, again, was something I was barely qualified to talk about, but just barely. Thanks so much. Bye.